I'll call the City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please. Oh, excuse me. Got to read my notes here. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Rizzi. The Pledge of Allegiance will be Councilman Evans. She's on phone. Krista?
We ready?
Yes.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege of being gathered here today to do the city's business on behalf of our constituents. We ask that each of us be guided by you in the decisions we make that affect others and not by any personal agenda or ego. We ask to be humble in our disagreements and that we never forget we are here to serve the people of this beautiful community. Father, we ask for your continued protection over all of our first responders, those serving in our military, and their family members. We ask that they be brought home safely each and every day. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rizzi,
Present.
Councilmember Evans,
here.
Councilmember Heck,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Nesser,
Present.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Okay, just before we get started, if anyone wants to do something concerning the number 16, that one right now tonight is for information only. And if you want to address, please fill out a request to speak form and give it to the city manager, city clerk, before the manager's report is completed. Consent agenda. As a reminder, all items in the consent agenda will be approved with one motion. If a council member wishes to remove an item for further discussion, the request will be made prior to approving the consent agenda and will be moved to new business. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we have proclamation designating the week of September 16th through September 23rd, 2022 as Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will communicate or commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issues of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, September 17th through 23rd, as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Chip Wilson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitutional Week. And Kelly McDonald, present that to you. Sure.
Let's come down.
I'll come down there.
A lot of metal. Even general or something.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Scottish American Revolution Apache Trail Chapter,
it's a pleasure to receive this from you and recognize Constitution. Thank you. The Daughters of the American Revolution actually initiated Constitution Week, and it fits within our mission of patriotism, education, and historic preservation, all of those. We celebrate the Constitution not only during Constitution Week, but all year long. And it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for honoring us with this proclamation.
Thank you.
Okay, intergovernmental updates. Anyone on council have something they want to speak? Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So last week, we attended the League of Cities Conference. Very informative, was able to get some nice seminars about the water and economic development. You meet a lot of people in these conferences, a lot of people that can be real assets to the city as the years go by. Overall, I think it was a pretty good success.
Gail?
I would like to just remind everybody, October 8th coming up is Make a Difference Day at the city. If we can get the website, there's our website. We have our projects all lined up. We are 100% volunteer. You can go visit our website. You can sign up to volunteer, or you could sign up to throw us some money if you'd like to, because we'll take any money that we can get. It's been a real hardworking group of people that work both for the city, for projects to be done, and for individuals who can't perform them themselves. So please, if you have any time on October 8th, sign up. Thank you.
Bambi?
Not today.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
As Robert said last week, the city sent us to the Arizona League of Cities and Towns Conference, and I want to thank Bryant and the city of Apache Junction for sending us to this conference. It's a great way to do networking and get other ideas from other cities, bigger and smaller than us. It's kind of interesting to hear some of the stories that other cities talk about and tell about. And all of a sudden you go, wow, I never thought of that. And I brought back today 2 things to Bryant from 2 of the sessions specifically that I went to that I'd like to possibly see implemented or happen. We'll talk more about that in the future if anything comes from them. So yeah, it was a very good week. Thank you, Bryant, for sending us.
Peter? No, I want to make a quick comment on it as well. And of course, I enjoyed it, an opportunity to meet with, I'm going to say, other council members throughout the city, throughout the state, and other mayors. And one of the things that on Friday they have a session on what they call a quick date. You sit at a table and you meet with other people around the council or mayors, and after 5 minutes of talking, you get to change seats and go to another seat and get mixed up. And what was interesting for me is some of the problems other cities are facing that we are not facing, and boy, I'm glad we're not facing those problems as well. So it was very enjoyable, and just like Tess said, that you get these meeting other people and you're understanding what's going on in their community, and it helps you look to what your community is doing and what you can do to help improve. Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Brian Powell, City Manager. I am just reading off the website on Make a Difference Day. It's a great time to volunteer and gather as a community and support one another. Meeting time is 7:30 to 7:45 a.m. Remember, October 8th is still warm, so the sooner we get out and get going, it's great. And that everyone can get signed in. I don't know if we're doing a photo again, but they are giving out T-shirts. Is that correct?
Yes,
T-shirts again, and we're meeting behind the focal point.
correct.
Correct. Okay, great. I'm also very pleased to share with the community and the city council that our Apache Junction City Library received another $20,000 donation from the Glenn Perkins Educational Foundation this year. We're super excited about that. The mayor, you've already sent a thank you note to them, but this is our first public chance to share that. The city library will use the funds to purchase patron materials for the mobile bookmobile. And then tonight, I just wanted to express my most sincere gratitude to our Economic Development Director, Janine, who I've worked with for over 20 years. This is her last week. She is awesome, and we are going to miss her. She's such a great asset to our local community and knows so much about our local small businesses and such a support to them, and that will be a huge emphasis when we have our new person start. We're getting closer every day to having that, about a month away, and then we'll have be able to announce soon that. But just tonight wanted to say thank you, Janine, for all the work, and I can't believe this week's already here and we're gonna miss her. Thank you, Mayor, that concludes my report.
And we all join in and saying thank you to Janine as well from the council and myself as well. Al.
Okay, good evening. Al Bravo, Public Information Officer for the City of Apache Junction. Mayor Wilson, members of the City Council. Just a couple of really quick things for you to be aware of. Since last we met, I know several of the council and the mayor got a chance to go over to the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport dedication of the new tower. That is almost double the size of the original tower. Goes from I believe from 120 feet to almost 200 feet or something like that. And is a real, big stepping stone for what should be the reliever airport for the Valley of the Sun, the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, a big economic driver, of course, for our region. And like I said, we got a chance to see a lot of really important folks at the tower. And I did want to thank everybody who pitched in and helped out last week at the League of Cities and Towns convention. It's a really fun, event, but it's also a really important event. Our Youth Advisory Council, of course, takes part in the Parade of Flags that's kind of kicks off the conference the first couple of days. And that's always a fun one, and they take that flag that's sitting right there behind us and represent the city very, very well. And of course, we have a lot of fun in addition to all the learning and education and networking that goes on. And we always seem to get great comments from everybody. I get a chance to visit with a lot of folks on the Thursday that I'm there. They always say really good things about you folks. So a little feather in your cap for that as well. So hopefully everybody had a good time and learned a lot. And that is your report for September 6th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. Application for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Tumbleweed Grill and Bar. Jennifer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before council this evening is an interim liquor permit along with a Series 12 restaurant liquor license application. Tumbleweed Grill and Bar is located at 725 West Apache Trail. And if you recall, this was the location of AJ Sports Grill, who opened up at the very end of 2019, just in time for COVID. Before that was the Mirage. It's over at the Superstition Plaza. We have their application, which does include the original outdoor patio as part of their serving location. The 4 entities that we send out and request zoning, planning, public safety inspections, things like that, all 4 entities have responded. They have no objections and are recommending that council approve recommendation to the Department of Liquor License and Control for the application. The applicant is present this evening if you wish to have any questions.
the applicant want to say anything? Okay,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Yes,
Jennifer,
ma'am.
did you say it does not include the outside area?
It does.
Oh, it
The
does.
outdoor patio?
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. This is a public hearing. Does anyone want to speak on this? I see everybody moving at one time. Okay. So I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I move that the application for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license submitted by Jeffrey Miller for the Tumbleweed Grill and Bar located at 725 West Apache Trail, number 2A, Apache Junction, Arizona, be recommended for approval to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call?
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rizzi?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd just like to make an announcement that I had a great Sunday morning breakfast at the Tumbleweed, and I recommend anybody stop by and enjoy someone else cooking besides me.
Okay. Presentation, discussion, of public hearing considering ordinance number 1527 on zoning case P 22-65PZ. Sydney. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's not Sydney.
Wow, Cindy has changed.
Yes, Sydney changed.
Good evening, council members. My name is Erica Hernandez. I have a very short presentation for you today. This is a request by Crossroads Southern Baptist Church to rezone the southerly portion of their parcel to facilitate a land split. This is the aerial map of the parcel. It is generally located on the northeast corner of Starr Road and Old West Highway. It is currently zoned public and institutional, and the proposed rezoning is for RSGR. The parcel is currently surrounded by residential in the north, the east, and the west, as well as commercial in the west. A little background about this parcel. The church was constructed in 1983. A manufactured home was placed on the parcel in 1997 as pastor's quarters, but is no longer needed at this time and is currently vacant. This is the proposed site plan. We see here Lot B. It is approximately 1.25 acres. A sign was posted at the site. Notifications were sent out to property owners 300 feet around the subject site, and the case was advertised in the newspaper. There was a neighborhood meeting on July 14th. 3 residents attended. They were mainly concerned that the rezoning would be for commercial, but when it was explained that it was for residential, they had no more comments. Beyond that, staff has not received any comments or questions regarding the rezoning request. With that, staff recommends approval of P-22-65-PZ, subject to the conditions of approval found in the staff report. On August 23rd, Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval for P-22-65-PZ. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here if you'd like to speak to them or have any questions, and they do have a presentation as well. Very similar to mine.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
Nope. All right.
Don't see any questions. Does the applicant want to say anything?
Just 1 minute if I could. I'm Steve Harrison. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Steve Harrison. I'm here on behalf of the Baptist Church. They say plagiarism is the highest form of compliment. The slides I have are identical to what we have that's already been presented to you, and I don't want to take your time by repeating what's been presented. I would just point out one thing, that the zoning the adjacent property has this identical zoning, the RSGR, that the church would request that it be rezoned to. Other than that, again, I had my little presentation, but it would be repetitive, and I don't want to take your time. Unless there are any questions.
No question?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion, or does the council have anything you want to say?
It's a public hearing, right?
No. Do I have a motion?
As a public hearing.
Oh, it was public hearing, I'm sorry. Want to eliminate the public again. Does anyone from the public want to get up and speak? Seeing everybody moving quickly again, so I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that ordinance number 1527 be read by title only and the reading of the entire ordinance be waived.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
I do believe that there is an amended motion if council wishes to include the stipulations recommended by P and Z, or it can be, it's noted in the packet. There were stipulations recommended by P and Z.
Staff
You're
is
okay?
saying there aren't any stipulations on this one.
Okay.
Yep.
An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, amending the Apache Junction, Arizona zoning ordinance by amending the zoning district map, city of Apache Junction, Arizona, changing the zoning district classification for the property described in rezoning case P-22-65-PZ, a proposed rezoning from Republic and Institutional PI to General Rural Low Density Single Family Detached Residential, RSGR, repealing any conflicting provisions and providing for severability.
Main motion now?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that ordinance number 1527 as read by the city clerk be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call?
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Have no old business, new business. Presentation and discussion on PW 22-18, trash and recycled material for city-owned facilities. Heather.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Heather Hodgman, Administrative Services Manager. So tonight we're here to talk about a request for proposal we did for trash and recycle removal for our city-owned facilities. We went out for a request for proposal on May 25th. We only received one response, which was June 9th, from Allied Waste Transportation, DBA Republic Services. So to give you a background on what an RFP is, a request for proposal is not based on the lowest bid, even if we had multiples. It's based on the technical proposal, and then price is included and thought of as well. So the technical proposal was worth 100 points, and these are just stipulations on what the scoring was looked at. General information, experience, billing, clarity, and recognition of any addenda that was issued from the RFP. We did have 2 staff members that scored the technical and the pricing proposal, and these were the scores 278 and 290 out of a possible 300. Some background on the RFP. There are various size dumpsters in the city. So at our city facilities, we have a 3-yard, 6-yard, and 8-yard dumpsters. On the RFP, we actually put the option of using a 20-yard or 40-yard dumpster for different city events, and that we've asked for the mixed-use recycle and trash to be clearly marked. There are 3 locations that actually have the mixed-use recycling dumpster. That is at the Multi-Generational Center, Prospector Park, and our Public Works Yard. And there are 9 locations with the trash containers. The proposal, the agreement is for 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional years, so not to exceed 5 years. The scope of work is to provide the solid waste and recycling for our city facilities. So I've listed all of our city facilities: City Hall, Police Department, Multi-Generational Center, Library, Prospector Park, Paws and Claws, Public Works, AJ Water District Yard, and we added the AJ Water District plant this year for this RFP. The standard service is 1 to 3 times a week for pickup for solid waste and the recycling collection, depending on the location and the needs of that location. The Consumer Price Index was part of this, which is for urban water, trash, and sewer. That's published by the United States Labor Bureau of Statistics. So the CPI rates are adjusted using the most recently available 12-month average compared to the 12 months preceding. So this was part of that RFP, and the annual increase cannot exceed 5%. So staff is recommending entering into an agreement with Allied Waste, Transportation, DBA Republic Services in the amount of $23,564.04 annually with an improved annual CPI increase. And this will be put on consent for September 20th. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Yes.
Heather, I have 3 questions.
Okay.
Would you explain just a little bit to me, Allied Waste Transportation doing business as Republic Services?
It's just their main name. That's how they're recorded.
Okay. It's just a name thing. It's not one company doing something and having somebody else do something else, or, I don't know what I'm thinking. Okay. 1 to 3 times a week on the screen before pickup. No, that one. Who determines 1 to 3 times a week? I mean, just curious.
It depends on the amount of trash that is put into the trash can.
Does the city have to call them, or?
No, it's on a schedule.
Okay.
So I provided them a schedule, the location, the pickup days, how often, the amount, the yardage for the dumpsters that are needed. And by average of doing this for so many years, you kind of know how often the recycling needs to be picked up versus a trash. Multi-gen, I think it's 2 times a week. Public Works, 2 times a week. So it just depends on the trash needs and the recycling needs.
For each place and everything?
Correct.
Okay. The other question is, since only one person or one company applied or put in a contract, the scores were 278. One of them was 290 out of 300. Now, those figures mean nothing to me. I don't know whether 277 means you wouldn't contract with them, you know. They're not getting this contract just because they were the only people that applied. I'm going to assume that those scores were because those are good scores?
They are good scores out of 300. So the best score they can get was 300. So we reviewed everything. We reviewed just even how you present your proposal to us. That's important to us, not just throwing something together. So we really look at every detail of it, make sure that they've submitted all the correct exhibits. If they didn't submit the exhibits, they'd be considered non-responsive, which means we'd have to go back out for an RFP. So there's very strict criteria on what is required for submittal, and if they don't have it, they're non-responsive.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes.
So I have a question. You're going to have to refresh my memory. So this is through Republic Services, correct?
Correct.
Now, the city has a contract with Republic Services. In that contract, do they not service the city? And if not, who's doing it now?
They are.
They are.
Contract. That was the solid waste services for residential services that went through. We've always had contracts for our city services separate.
And they're doing it now?
And they're doing it now, yeah.
And their contract is up?
Yep.
And this is a renewal of this contract?
This is a time to go out to rebid it, and they were the only ones that bid on our services, yep.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Heather, quick question. The part of the background you have, the city has the option to use larger dumpsters for city events. I'm assuming that would be extra expense. That's not built into that $23,000 budget?
You're correct. It's not. It's extra expense.
Okay, all right. Is that from prior experience? I mean, city has a lot of events. Does that mean we're talking about a substantial amount above that 23,000? Do you have any history on that?
It's not. With your approval, we've been able to do 2 household hazardous waste events a year. And so I actually bring in 40-yard dumpsters for that event. A lot of the events, they haven't asked me for them. Sometimes they get donated dumpsters. Recently, I actually brought in containers for police department. So they're kind of one-offs, basically. They're not used all the time, but I wanted the option in there for our different different departments to be able to get that and use a contract.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. It's going to be coming up in the consent agenda. When did you say?
September 20th, I think, is the
September
next one.
20th, next council meeting.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
That's our thinking, okay.
Okay. Presentation, discussion in the case P 22-29 PZ, proposed zoning for the purpose of a 124-unit multifamily residential apartment community, tentatively known as the Enclave on Renek, and the south 75 feet of parcel number 101-13-1080 to B2 Old West Commercial. Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. And good evening, Council. So tonight is just an informational item. The actual public hearing will be in 2 weeks for the consideration and the public hearings themselves. But as Mayor Wilson said, this project is P2229PZ, the Enclave on Rennick, which is a proposed, there's 2 aspects to this project. The primary aspect is the proposed rezoning of the majority of these 2 parcels, which would be from RSGR to RM2. That is for the 124-unit apartment complex that is noted in the exhibits. However, I will note that at the south portion of the larger parcel, there has been an existing storage yard. It's about 76 feet wide, and it has been there since before the city was incorporated, and it has just kind of been a historic use that has been on this residentially zoned property, and it has serviced the auto center just immediately south of this property. And it has remained in that way, and as the owners sold this parcel, they had asked if they could have it split off, and then remerged, but in order to do so, it would require a zoning change because the commercial center to the south is also Zone B2, Old West Commercial, and we can't recombine parcels of different zonings. So as part of this request and as part of the sale, they had initially come into this agreement that this is kind of how it would be done, and the remainder of the parcel remains to be developed. So that is what has been proposed. There is a variety of zonings within this area. There are these 2 parcels that are zoned RSGR. They have remained that way since the incorporation of the city and the adoption of the zoning ordinances. They have had this kind of holding zoning as they've remained vacant. The surrounding area has a variety of zoning, like the RS20M zoning, which is a proposed density of about 2 units per acre. There is the RV park to the northeast of this property that has about a density of 18 units an acre, and the Apache Junction manufactured home park that has a density of about 12 units an acre. While to the north of the subject site, there is also RM2 zoned properties. While they have a potential zoning of up to 22 units an acre right now, they are multiplexes on that property. They don't have that density at the moment, but that is what it is zoned for as well, just so that context is given. And again, to the south of this property, as well as what is proposed for this small storage yard, is the B2 Old West Commercial zoning. As a matter of note, Similar to what I mentioned with the density on the general plan land use map, this kind of odd section is included within the downtown mixed-use district, which is why this proposed density is allowable by the general plan, and why this specific rezoning does not require a minor general plan amendment. So the property itself is proposed to be, again, there's the small split on the south, but then the majority of this site is proposed to have these 124 apartment units. The primary entrance, just so we have a frame of reference, so north being on the right side, on the south side of the development, right along on Rennick, is the primary access and exit for the property. There's a gate a little bit further in, but there is some vehicle stacking at the front. As you would enter into the site, there is the entrance with some of the apartments right up front. They are all alley-loaded units with a front patio on the opposite side. And then there's the clubhouse that has features such as a fitness center. There's the pool. There would be the leasing office there. And then parking is scattered throughout the site. And there is in this case, this being the northeast corner of the property, there is an exit-only access point that would exit onto Virginia Street, and it is in line with the San Marcos alignment. So it's kind of right at that intersection. The applicant, we have worked with the applicant and their architects in order to ensure a high-quality design that would complement the community, both with the desert tone colors as well as a variety of material types. There's some metal plating, decorative concrete, as well as several different textures of stucco and different colors to complement that. We worked with them just to make sure that this kind of product does appeal to the neighborhood or as much as it can in terms of design. There was a question at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing regarding how the windows, because these are all second-story units, how the windows would affect the neighboring properties. Just for reference, the side elevations have all been aligned so that there is minimal exposure to the east and to the west, which is where they would primarily overlook the neighboring properties. And that is seen within these elevations. This is the proposed elevation for the clubhouse. Again, it would house several different community features and amenities. Now, the applicant has conducted extensive public outreach efforts since dating back to March of this year. They began with a door-to-door outreach effort. They set up at-home meetings in as much as they could, and issued some letters notifying the neighborhood of the neighborhood meetings and the different outreach efforts. The neighborhood meeting itself was held on May 5th, 2022. At that time, 17 neighbors attended, and there have been, and the city has received, as well as the applicant, various comments regarding the concerns of an increase in traffic, concerns about the status of the road of Rennick and Virginia, concerns about the height of the new buildings, as well as how the density would impact the neighborhood, as well as questions about how the drainage on site would be managed, because on the east side of the property, there is an existing drainage channel. The project is not proposed to alter that or to deviate any way from the city's standard drainage policies. So all those things have been incorporated into the site plan. But that has been one of the common concerns that we have heard. Staff has received comments by phone and by email concerning traffic and similar ideas of neighborhood impact and density concerns. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission held on August 9th, several neighbors attended, and they voiced these concerns to the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as provided staff a petition opposing the development and the proposed rezoning, which has been provided as part of the staff report, just for everyone's convenience. On August 9th, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend the approval of P2229PZ, subject to the conditions of approval found in the staff report. In the future, in 2 weeks, the City Council public hearing, which again would be when the applicant would have a presentation as well as the public hearing for any neighbors to speak, will be held on September 20th. But I am here tonight to answer any questions preemptively in order to provide as much information for your decision as we can. We hope that this assists whatever decision that you would like to make, and that I can provide as much information up front as I can.
Any questions? Yeah.
Now, you opened the door. because you said I could ask any question, right? We've approved a lot of projects like this within the city, and nothing happens. We approve the project, and they flip it, they make money, and we're left sitting here with nothing again. Is there any way that we can put a limitation on timeframes when something can start, or it has to be started permit-wise or through final zoning before this time? And Joel's gonna get you off the hook for just a second.
Councilmember, I don't know if you need to be off the hook. You could probably answer it. If you don't, I'll add to it.
All right, well, so within the zoning ordinance, there is a provision allowable for what we call a reversion clause. Now, it is not automatic. Within state law, as well as how it's been written into our zoning ordinance, it is possible for the city council to implement or to adopt a condition of approval that would require some form of progression, some form of work. Sometimes it's a building permit, or at least the start of a building permit within a certain time frame, and that if that goal is not met, the zoning could be subject to reversion. Now, I will clarify that within the state law, as well as the city ordinance, it is not an automatic process. What would then have to happen is that the city council would then put the item on the agenda to bring everyone back in, say, why isn't this happening, and then vote to repeal the zoning ordinance itself. But as a matter of can it be done, it is a condition that can be written into the zoning ordinance that we would vote on in 2 weeks.
And if I could add to that.
Know how everybody else feels about it.
Well, if I could add to that before any more comments.
Sure.
Everything you said is correct, because Nick is always right. However, I would add, if the developer has the zoning and then starts to rely on that zoning and expends money on certain things, there's case law that says they are vested, and if the council revokes their zoning or has a hearing on it, it'd be a public hearing, now you've changed their zoning. So there could be damages that a developer could bring if they relied on that kind of zoning. They have to be vested, and there's certain things that you could, that cause you to be vested. There's also Proposition 207, diminution in value. There's also that body of law that says if you do something that diminishes the value of a piece of property, any zoning law or any property-related law or ordinance, then there could also be some issues. But if nothing's done for 2 years and you bring it back and they're not vested, then you're free reign to go and revert it back.
So what would be considered vested, like putting in the sewer lines? What exactly vests somebody?
It's case by case. However, it depends on how much they have spent on engineering or on if they put some value into the property, if they got a loan on the property and they've paid interest. And there's certain cases that talk about vesting at the federal level.
So, and my whole point in this, across from Toast, we had that very large complex.
A good example.
It was all approved, and they sold it. And they cleared the land. Would that make them vested?
It's case by case, but clearing a land, I don't know what that costs. Depends how large the lot is. But if they've done other things, I think, engineering and other costs, that could be problematic. I can't remember the exact name of the case, but it came out of Scottsdale. It was a Ninth Circuit case.
So would that apply only to the people that presented it to the city and say not to the people that they sold it to?
I'd have to research that, but I believe zoning runs with the land, and therefore their successors in interest would have the same rights that they would have.
So I'd like to know what everybody else
Well,
thinks.
now, there's been a case or two in history, right, Joel, that we would get presentations like this. They would come in, they'd get the ground, they get the zoning changed, they get the ground shovel ready, then they sell the land. Like, that was their intent all along. Come out with this great hoorah presentation, but at the end of the day, they just wanted it zone changed.
With
And
it.
so I guess that's to piggyback off of what Gail was saying, that, okay, if things aren't progressing over a certain amount of time, I believe we should go back, revisit it, and change it back, or however it may be, to try to help hopefully avoid such, why they do that, right?
Your Honor.
Yes?
So, I think to some degree it's a slippery slope. I certainly understand the frustration that, that Gail and Robert had shared, that it's kind of frustrating when that happens. But I also think we need to be cautious, because that can become a slippery slope in trying to tell somebody what to do on their property. None of us like to be told what to do with our property. We have the right to sell it. If we've gotten the right permits and the right zoning, we have the right to develop it according to, the rules of the city. And so I don't really have a strong opinion either way, other than, when they can do that, unfortunately.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Robert, the only thing that comes to mind to answer your question, yours too, Gail, in a way, is, are you talking about, we're rezoning, this is a request to rezone, then in 1 year, 12 months, 2 years, if they haven't done anything, we should revert back to the original zoning? Well, my only thought on that is, if we shouldn't, why are we rezoning it in the first place if it shouldn't be, either don't rezone it now and leave it what it is, or if we're going to rezone it, who cares about reverting back to something?
Well, I'm not concerned with rezoning it back, because that does cause a
Diminish,
diminish value. What I'm saying is, we approve this with these apartments, this plan, this layout, and so how many have we approved that 10 years down the line, nothing was built? Do we want that same product there, or do we want it to revert back to the new zoning, but they have to come up with their own plans?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I want to just add, and maybe this is a legal question, can we ask the developer, or can we put in the motion that if they don't do it, keep the zoning, don't revert it back, but keep the zoning and say, but if you wait this long, you have to come back to us and go through the approval process, or...
Again.
Excuse me, but if they turn around and sell it to somebody else, whatever purpose they have, they may have to come back for a rezoning regardless. I mean, short of actually asking developers to put up some kind of performance bond to start their work within so much time, then I'm not sure that you can ever force anybody to actually complete what they say they're going to do.
Right. Your Honor?
But if they don't, and not necessarily that they have to complete it, but they have to come back before the city. What if something happened on the vacant parcel next door? And now this project that we approved 5 years ago doesn't flow well with that project, say.
But what if they did build it, say they did, and it doesn't jive with the 5 years in the future? You see what I'm saying? So it would be, it's the same thing, the only difference would be they actually did do the building, and now 5 years down the road it doesn't mesh.
Well, but the problem with it not meshing with something next to it would be if it wasn't built. If it was built as the plan was presented to us, then the new people next door, we already know what will mesh and what won't.
But if you are saying that you're okay with building this, then you've changed the zoning for anything that is like this, no matter who
Right.
does it. So whether it's them or somebody else that puts this in, it would still be the same thing. If somebody else buys it and they want it to be something else, they're gonna have to go through the process and see if a zoning could be changed for whatever it is that they want.
Your Honor.
Joel, you want to answer?
Well, to answer the city manager's question, I'd say no. I don't think you could do what the city manager suggested.
That was my
I
question.
think you still have to the council would have to call for a meeting, invite the developer, it'd be a public hearing. But going to the other question, this is and Nick reminded me, this is a straight zoning. So it's not a planned development. So you would be agreeing to the zoning if you approve it, but you're not necessarily agreeing to this exact project, because they could change it as long as they're within the zoning. They could still get permits, so it's not a planned development amendment.
There has been a condition one, at least attempts to adopt a certain development plan, but as Joel said, it is not a planned development which has a higher level of binding.
But you are increasing, I'm sorry, if I
No,
may.
go ahead.
You would be increasing the value of this property when you rezone it to this what would be considered a better use, or a higher, a more profitable use.
Right.
The only thing I wanted to throw in there, if we're gonna talk this, putting stipulations down the road that somebody has to start building or build or do whatever to whatever extent within 1 year or 2 year, I think that's something we should put in the zoning ordinance itself, or city ordinance or something, so that all builders who come here know you've got so much time to build.
I'm not sure that'd be enforceable.
No? Okay.
And then if you do that, the legislature will be definitely on you and use you as the poster
Okay.
child for why the legislature should be in charge of all zoning in the state,
Ah, okay.
which they're on that kind of, what would you call it, Bryant?
Bandwagon.
A conspiracy to do that? Sorry, Mr. Mayor, but that's what it is.
Yes.
Your Honor, and Councilmember Evans, your point is well taken, though. We've watched now for a couple years, many rezonings come. I think we have three or four residential properties actually going vertical. And so if you,
16.
yeah, that's probably, yeah, I was gonna say 50, yeah.
I've watched this happen.
And, yeah, it's frustrating.
If I could briefly interject, from planning management, I did receive some greater direction regarding, what I made mention of regarding condition number 1. So as it reads within the ordinance itself, as in the proposed conditions, the project shall be developed in accordance with the plans approved and associated with case P2229PZ and all provisions of the zoning ordinance and city codes applicable to this case. And that condition itself is binding, as has been noted, to specify a very specific development plan so that this, under the current zoning and as it is as part of this legal action to rezone the property, would require the development in accordance with what we are seeing and what we are approving as part of this case, and that the city council would vote on in 2 weeks.
Your Honor.
Yes.
As far as question goes for you, it seems like you had a lot of people interested in this. You had the meeting, the neighborhood meeting, you had showing up at P&Z meetings, emails and calls to the city regarding this?
Yes, we
We've
have.
had some calls, okay, we haven't.
So I like to hear what everybody's got to say. And then I guess the thing is, will you be here to bounce back, right? We get the questions or we get the concerns from the public, and they say, hey, what's your answer to that?
They'll be at the public hearing.
Sure. So, but now.
Yeah, we'll be there, we'll be there, he'll be there.
And I guess.
This is no motion tonight. This is
Well,
just for information.
I totally understand that, Mr. Mayor. So one of the things is, are you looking at, so let's just say you have 20 people, let's just hypothetically, over the past week or whatever, were Was it like 10 of them had the same problem with it, and then 10 had a different problem, or was it a really good mixture of different things that people were saying?
So I've spoken to about 4 of those neighbors, and they've reiterated the same concerns. Within the petition that we received, we have not actually been in contact or been able to contact the majority of those people. That itself was just a general opposition against it. What was expressed at the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as in the neighborhood meeting, was generally just a general concern and opposition against density. At the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, there was concern that that Rennick and Virginia specifically did not have the capacity for this development. And regarding that question, we have conferred with our city engineer, as well as the traffic report that was originally conducted for this project. And we have tried to interface with the neighbors, as well as to address their concerns up front, as the applicant has done so, as well as part of their outreach efforts. There is ultimately a general opposition of simply, I don't want this here. And some of that is for those reasons that were noted, but it has ultimately come down to differences of opinion. We have tried to answer all the data questions, things that have a solid answer as much as we could, but generally speaking, most of the concerns and the conversations that we have been about the location, if this is the right place for that. And at that point, it kind of comes down to subjective values.
Your Honor,
Yes.
you sent out notices within 300 feet
Yes.
per, you have to. How many, do you know how many notices went out?
I believe, having sent them out myself, I sent out about 44. I did receive about 4 of them back from mail return, as in the address bounced back, that there was no one to claim it or something along those lines. So ultimately, about 39 of those letters got sent out. in
And
terms of
how
the
many
notification.
objections total did you get by either in person, phone, email, at the P&Z meeting?
I received 3 emails, 2 phone calls, and we had 4 neighbors show up to the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing.
Were any of those the same people?
Yes.
That's 8 people, and some of them were the same?
Yes.
So at the most, about 8 objections out of 39?
That I have personally contacted, yes.
I'm a little confused by the numbers that you're saying, just because of the fact I'm looking at the addresses and things that are on the petition, which has like 50 people on it with their addresses within, I mean, they're on the same street.
So for clarification of that, going through the petition itself, so about a third to anywhere between a third to a half of those petition signers are residents of the manufactured home park and the RV park. I will say, within the way that the notification system works, both by state law and the city law, the letters are sent out to property owners. So the renters of a property do not individually receive a letter.
So what we're talking about is that the owners didn't care, but the people who actually are the citizens who live there do. Is that correct?
In terms of, yes, who wrote on the petition, a large number of that being renters. So for example, when the notification letter was sent to the Apache Junction Manufactured Home Park, it went to the park manager. And notification for them can spread throughout it, but each individual renter within the park itself would not receive the letter, in part because that data is not publicly available.
So they would not, unless the owners of the park where they pay rent to and wants to keep their people happy, if they didn't tell them, then they wouldn't know to go to all those neighborhood hearings, would they?
They had the same opportunity, though, to come to the P&Z meeting, just like anybody else.
There's also
Yep.
signage.
Yep.
There's also signage there.
Oh, that's good, as long as there's signage.
Yeah.
They have to.
Anyone else?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Guess I'm going to take a different tact here. So, so there's going to be some of the concerns I saw from the residents is the multi-level. Are there going to be 124, is it like townhomes essentially?
A townhome specifically would be ownership. These are apartments,
They're-
so,
okay.
but each
But
of
is-
them are two-story, yes.
They're two-story, okay. So, and each one of those 124 units will have a garage, correct?
Yes.
One-car garage?
So it is split within their parking calculations. There are one-bedroom units, two-bedroom units, and three-bedroom units. All of the three-bedroom units would have a two-car garage. About 2/3 of the two-bedroom units have a two-car garage, and then the remainder have a one-car garage, and then one parking space provided on site assigned specifically to their unit. When it comes to one-bedroom units, within the parking calculations for the city code, it is 1.5 parking spaces for every one-bedroom apartment. So in this case, every single one-bedroom apartment has a one-car garage, and then there is an excess of parking on site. In this case, it is not allocated the same way as the two-car garages, but that they are reserved specifically for those one-bedroom apartments, so that within the city code, at least, all of the parking regulations are met. So there is the garages, on-site parking, and then there is excess reserved for guest parking. But, so all 2- and 3-bedroom homes have two parking spots allotted to them. And then the one-bedroom apartments have a variety between having a one-car garage and having some on-site parking.
Okay.
I just have one other question. One of the things that we hear an awful lot of people talking about is the affordability of living here, and that we don't have enough housing in different brackets. Where would you say this kind of apartment setup is going to be falling?
So I have spoken with the applicant. They have stated that this is a market rent or market rate apartment complex. In terms of how those numbers lie, those do vary month by month and year by year.
And one bedroom, two bedroom.
Yeah, so there is a different rate for every different type of apartment, and in terms of different size that is being rented out or leased. But I don't have numerical numbers other than that they would be the standard market rate, kind of the average of the area.
Your Honor?
Just one question, oh, sorry.
Wait, go ahead. Nick, another question. This development, will there be a management company overseeing this, or be it HOA or something? I mean, will there be some form of governance of this property?
There will be property management, and I believe that they'll be located on site.
Okay. All right. And then going back to the parking, so I know, I drive on that street a fair amount, and I know parking would be a concern if people were parking outside of that development. And then the street, now I know they're talking about the improvements on the pavements. Is that going to be, they're going to like resurface that street?
So this was a topic of discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. So the applicant will be obliged to improve their half-street improvement, which in the case of Rennick, may be slightly more than half because they'll be widening the road as well. There will be a dedication of right-of-way along Virginia, and they will be required to make half-street improvements, both to widen the road and to resurface their portion of it. We do have our public works engineer here if you would like to ask specific road improvement questions, but per the standard policy, generally it's only required that they improve their portion, plus whatever extent may be immediately adjacent. But so they will be improving Rennick and Virginia, but not necessarily the entire road, like the other half, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, that was my concern, because I think that with the amount of traffic that would be now making its way onto that street, that Rennick's going to take a beating. That's going to be tough on that roadway. So, I think.
Emil, are you here? Can you come up to talk to the issue of when improvements are expected? Your Honor, I just wanted to add, so affordability, right, in terms of supply side economics, in terms of capitalism, as the demand increases and the supply goes down, automatically price goes up. And so the ability to have more supply in the marketplace for Apache Junction, we only have a few apartment complexes. In fact, we have many age-restricted, of 119 mobile home parks. I think the density to the east of this project, it's got to be 15 units per acre, and there's got to be 300 units there. In addition, I would like to ask the question to make known for the record, is this a age-restricted community?
It is not, it's not proposed that way. And we have also proposed as a condition that it
Okay.
be not so either.
Thank you. Emil, could you talk to Renick and what's going to happen there, and the others?
I'm going to go back to your site plan. Oh, right there. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Emil Schmidt, City Engineer, Public Works Department. As is typical with a commercial development, it usually involves off-site improvements, curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lights, conforming to a certain road section. I do understand there were some concerns about the condition of the existing pavement on Rennick and Virginia. The Public Works Department will be doing an overlay project starting end of October, beginning of November timeframe for pavement overlay on Rennick from Apache Trail to Virginia, and then east on Virginia, and I believe on San Marcos up to Superstition Boulevard. Our department maintenance projects, we replace pavements in kind, widths, and so on and so forth. And what Nick has correctly described is that with these off-site improvements required for commercial developments, they're responsible for their half of the street. There will be a little bit of additional pavement added beyond what our maintenance project in a few months will be doing.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Emil.
Okay, anyone else? I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I just want to add one thing for the audience. At the LIG conference last week, we complained here in Apache Junction about affordable housing. And one of the sessions I went to, one of the speakers was the mayor of Sedona. Their average monthly rental, short-term rentals, is $4,400 a month.
Okay. On that
We
note,
think we've got it bad.
council, the direction to staff, we don't have any. Selection of meeting dates and times, locations, purposes. Do you want-
Your Honor, I move that an executive session at 6 p.m. for Monday, September 19th, and Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, be held in the City Council Conference Room located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard in Apache Junction, Arizona, and other meetings scheduled if necessary.
Second.
Seconded, roll call.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Call to the public. I would like to remind everyone the call to public is a courtesy and not required by law. It's a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Requests to speak forms must have been completed and handed to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, council cannot engage in discussion on issues presented, but may respond to criticism, may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly, or place this matter on future agenda for the council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. And I have 2 requests. And Mr. Schroeder.
George Schroeder, 2444 West Virginia Street. Just FYI, I think the city should somehow, in some way, inform this new development. And I'm not judging or persecuting, but the people on the north side of Virginia to that proposed deal. These are alcohol and drug rehab facility. And while I know them to be a very quiet neighborhood, I'm not there every day. I don't know what to do. We do have homeless there. We do have a drug problem there, as we do other places in our city. So just FYI, the city should be letting the residents and the people of this project know that they have an existing concern there. I think it would be remiss not to tell them that. So, next, as always, I try and tell the public that I'm just a John Q. citizen. I want to express my views, and I go on social platforms to do the same. Seems like the city has a real hard time with accountability. I come here, I can't say names, I can't say anything about what people are doing wrong. Right? Really? Wow. What do I do it? So I go on social platform. Oh, I get excoriated and censored there. From the very people that are outside bashing the city, yet when they work for the city, and one of them is a city council member, bash the city from the outside, yet come in here and sit here, holier than thou. Wow. But I get censored. I can assure these people, you can't censor me. You can't stop me. You can't keep me down. I'm not going anywhere. So get ready for more.
Okay. Kathleen Meek.
Hi there. My name is Catherine Meek. I'm 1327 South Bel Air Road in Apache Junction 85119. I came here today just to speak my piece about community. A very sterile definition of community is a group of people with something in common. To me, it's much more. It's a group of people who have something in common but want to achieve more. It's apparent to me that a lot of people in Apache Junction feel this way when I look around and see the opportunities to volunteer. Make a Difference Days keeps being talked about, which is exciting. The Elks are always doing something, the American Legion, VFW, Arizona Rangers, Stand Up AJ, Genesis Project, all these other groups working together to make things a little bit better around here. But then we have the city of Apache Junction posting on Facebook, have a code compliance concern? Click the link to file a complaint. That, to me, does not support a community. That pits neighbor against neighbor, when if you have a concern about what's going on with your neighbor's house, it should take just a minute to knock on the door and say, hey, what's going on? Can I help you? If that doesn't work, yeah, code enforcement is the next step. But most of the things going on in my neighborhood are people struggling, the elderly having trouble cleaning up after themselves, things like that. Last month, I was shocked here when, after the meeting, somebody was bragging about calling code enforcement at least once a day. Just pounding to get things changed, and bragging about being so persistent, I really hope I heard this wrong, that he was happy to announce that multiple people had committed suicide. That shocks me. And that's not what community says to me. When we were looking for a new home, we drove through neighborhoods seeing, what looked about right. Flagpoles, trailers and work trucks in the front yard, obvious working class neighborhood. Apache Junction seemed perfect. So we moved here. Then, once COVID starts easing up, we have neighbors come from out of town who visit a few months out of the year and discover half the neighbors are out of code compliance because they have their work trucks parked in their front yard. They're landscapers, and they happen to have 2 trailers that don't fit in their backyard. And I kind of wonder about the priorities of where we need to focus our energy. There's so many things going on. I question what we should focus on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Glad tonight's over with, dear.
No.